G'day, you absolute legends. How are you doing? Time to learn some classics. The no-die classics. Next episode is going to be about the isolated queen pawn, and even within that topic I'm going to narrow it down to one particular motif within the structure, and that is going to be the breakthrough with the isolated queen pawn, which technically is something that black should prevent, at all cost. Our good friend Nimzovich, in his amazing book called My System, actually expressed the best strategy against an isolated queen pawn, or any isolated pawn for that matter, which is to blockade it, and blockade it preferably with a knight. Because a lack of blockade always allows white to reckon with d5, which can be a super dangerous weapon when playing with the isolated queen pawn. The first example comes from Kasparov Karpov, the greatest chess rivalry ever in chess history, and in my opinion, definitely the highest quality of World Championship match ever played, considering that back then they had next to no support of computer engines and computers and everything that the engine can do for a chess player today. And also the reason why I really regret that we don't have the old system of World Championship setup, which was the zonals candidates and then the World Championship match. Anyway, different story altogether. Here we go. Karpov plays bishop d6, allowing d5. Be careful with that, Tolya. Take, and we arrive at an altogether different structure that a lot of people misunderstand, thinking that, oh, yeah, equal material, symmetrical pawn structure, draw, let's go to the canteen. Not at all. Very many famous top players, especially very good positional players, Petrosyan, Smyslov, Karpov. I have seen them winning many games with significantly less advantage than white has here in this pawn structure, simply because even though wood is even, and the wood is even laid out in a symmetrical fashion, what decides this game now is the activity and mobility of the pieces, and the activity and mobility of their counterpart. Here it's very clear that this bishop dominates this bishop, this knight is pinned, therefore this knight dominates that knight, and my queen has a chance to enter the fray via two very dangerous diagonals, whereas the black queen is actually really struggling to find a good square, because d6 being best is impossible due to bishop f7. Kasparov actually wrapped up this game in less than 10 moves. This is how it went. Queen a4, adding further firepower to that. The rook swings to d1, and here Karpov played rook d7, which would have been a perfect move defending the bishop, getting ready for doubling up, trading everything off, if it was not for the fact that after queen g4, again the super powerful white queen creates a new threat, and Karpov sadly had to realize that he set himself a terrible failure here, set himself up for a failure, because of this tactics wraps up the game in a spectacular fashion. Bishop check, the rook is corner, and the two rooks are going to finish off the queen very easily. In a blink of an eye, after allowing d5, he lost control of the game 100%. And I'm going to explain to you why this happened in the next game, and then you will see two different examples and how this is done. And by now we move on to our very good friend Artur Yusupov, who we know from the previous No Die Classics video, where the exact same opening line he lost the game as white due to beautiful tactics. Now he's showing us why he was one of the most fearful attackers of the world in his prime years. So Yusupov is building up for the stock standard mating pattern on h7, followed by bishop g5, which is going to force a weakening move, so much so that black played it already. h4. It is a useful move to chuck in very often when the knight goes to d5, then pawn h5 softens up this phalanx a lot. Queen d6, bishop g5, rook d8, rook d1. Immediate snapshot, please. Memorize this as best as you can, because this is what I call a perfect setup. In this particular pawn structure, white's setup is beautiful, fully functional and picture perfect. If anything, probably I would say that this is a touch better, because now even the bishop is on the diagonal where it's meant to be. This is how good chess is meant to be played. And this is where I often say to my students that chess is really easy, because you just need to follow the principles of getting your pieces out, control the center, put your rooks on open files, and there you go. And that's exactly what Yusupov, 2600 Super GM World Champion candidate, does. So you as a club player should not be ashamed of doing the very same thing. This, by the way, is move by move a main line of the 3C Sicilian, a totally different opening, which only goes to show that you must know structures, because structures will lead you to openings. And if you know the structure, you will understand the opening. Alright, so bishop b3, getting ready for d5, and then black player, also a seasoned grandmaster, chucked in a6. If you were my student, you would be in very big trouble for this. Apparently purposeless, time waster, no part of plan. The punishment does not wait. Bang. Yusupov just goes for it, and it's beautiful to see. What this does, guys, is, and this is why d5 is such a beautiful move here, it releases an incredible amount of energy that is currently suppressed by this d4 pawn. But now it has crossed the halfway mark, it crossed the Rubicon, there is no going back, and now the rooks, the heavies, the bishop on the diagonal will all just pound onto the black position, and there is no mercy. And there is nothing that white wouldn't give in order to succeed in this attack, and that includes the queen, because Yusupov watches my stream when it's called Sack the Queen. Bang bang. The queen couldn't be captured simply because I'm taking too many dudes. And in the end, I'm going to even pin the bishop on e7. So I'll play that, it's worth it. Rook takes, check, king up, queen takes, rook here, and rook here. And now even that guy is dying. GG. So black decided to take the bishop, trying to take the sting out of this annoying capture. Check, check. Now the bishop is replaced by the queen. And a very good move here. Don't be greedy. Your target is this, not this. Knight e5. Superb move. Further threats. Beautiful play. Beautiful play. Knight back to defend the hanging pieces. Take, check. And now that white has successfully lured black into this knight fork distance, does he take on b3? Thereby creating a new threat. And under the pressure of the white pieces, and I believe the clock, black collapsed immediately here by rook f8. And after bishop takes, knight takes, knight f7, he threw in the towel. Rook e7 wins a piece. Beautiful, beautiful attacking chess, showcasing the essence of the d5 breakthrough, which is, as I said, to just unleash the power of these pieces on the lines and diagonals. Picture perfect. Next, two world champions again, because after all, this is no die classics. Smyslov, who by the way was world famous for his incredibly fine positional technique, as well as for his tremendous endgame knowledge. Look at what an attacking monster he could be when he wanted to be. The opponent is Karpov. Again, same structure, different opening. I don't want to repeat myself too many times. Again, the same motif. We are building up for disaster here. Rook c8, bishop g5, forcing g6. Rook d1. Now d5 is already building up as a threat. Knight d5. Just in time he jumps in to block it. But actually, when I say just in time, he's a tad too late. Bishop h6, rook e8, and bishop a4. This is a super frustrating move and a beautiful testament to the deep understanding of Smyslov's. Bishop b3 is what most players would have played here, but after knight a5, bishop a2, it's unclear whether white has managed to get enough out of what appears to be quite a large advantage here. Bishop a4 immobilizes the knight. Knight e5 is now very annoying. So black played a6, trying to get rid of this pin by b5, and now white decided to trade. A very good call, because after queen takes, guess what? Bishop back. Oh, actually, sorry. First he stepped out of the d file, so that d5 is going to come with even more power. He defended the bishop, a beautiful prophylactic move. Had he played bishop b3 first after queen h5, this would have hung, and consequently couldn't have played d5. But now after queen e3, he is threatening with bang bang. Beautiful chess. Beautiful chess. Bishop f6, bishop b3, queen h5, and d5. Now this is such a monstrous move here, and now I'm going to show you a different effect of the d4-d5 breakthrough. It can't even be captured because of back rank mate. And this is the other thing that happens when you allow d5. It just keeps on going into your face, and it never stops. And all of a sudden, the d4 pawn that we label as a weak pawn, that is potentially a weakness and target in an endgame, is now sitting on d7, one square away from touchdown. Epic stuff. Rook e7, and essentially after queen f4, Karpov could have resigned the game on the spot, because this is hanging and this is not stoppable. He played there, queen in, and yeah, he decided to call it quits here. Actually, no, here. A beautiful, very smooth, positional and tactical masterpiece by the world champion against, actually by the ex-world champion against a world champion to be, I believe. And last but not at least, we are going to have a look at another world champion, Petrosyan, playing against, oh, I forgot who the, which one is this? Is it Pologaevsky? Maybe. I will look it up. I will put in the links for you guys. I forgot. No Die Classics. I clearly don't. Fail. But the motif is what really is the classics. And I left it last on purpose because this is the one that I want you to remember the most. Because this is such a beauty and a very easy way to score many very easy victories. So once again, we build up for the mate threat. And they play rook e8 here. So basically what they need to do is to play a lemon in this position, and then it works like clockwork. The trick is the following. d5, which is impossible at first sight because after ed we have got nothing. But the reality is that here we have the amazing bishop g5, excuse me, creating the threat of take mate, which can only be stopped by either g6 or knight e4 as in the game, but g6 is where the genius of the point shines in. Rook takes e7. And now, if these guys take, bishop f6 wins. If the queen takes, knight e5 wins. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I meant that way. Once again, slow-mo. d5, cracking open the e file. Takes, bishop g5, softening the diagonal. Eliminating the defender, oopsies, eliminating the defender, and exploiting the pin, game over. Hundreds of people fell for this trick, among the greatest players of all time. I think once even Karpov fell for it. Black he played, sadly, knight e4, sadly for them. It's not going to be able to save the game. Knight takes, pawn takes, queen takes. Now bishop is taboo because of queen check and mate. And again, consequently, the mate threat is very hard to stop. And after g6, queen h4 further dominates the king side and forces further weaknesses. Queen c7, bishop b3, and h5 had to be played because the threat was takes, followed by knight g5 hitting both. h5, queen e4. Now again, Petrosyan is hitting the pin, e7 is hurting, and now he's getting ready for a tactics that I think would have worked already a move before, I think, which is bishop takes f7. Again, please note that despite despite of the fact that the pawn structure is symmetrical, look at the power of the white pieces. Look at how beautifully and harmoniously they all attack, whereas blacks, whilst these pieces are somewhat harmonious too, but they seem to be absolutely terribly placed to dodge an attack like this. And it's just perfect. Just perfect. King takes, bishop in. What a brutal threat. Mate. Check followed by dirty checkmates. If the bishop goes this way, it allows knight g5 and queen check. The bishop can't go that way because of mate. The bishop can't really move this way because of check and mate. An incredibly beautiful attack where the black pieces are completely useless to hold the power, the immense power again of the white pieces. Just top notch. Queen d6, only way to stop the mate. Rook d, actually check first. Rook d1, bringing the last dude into the attack, and black just can't hold it anymore. He had to start sacrificing material back. It was quite lucky even for black that he got away with this. Takes, and really the killer, the biggest killer in this position is that black can't simplify bishop takes because of mate. Amazing stuff. So he had to play rook c5 to stop the mate, but now after h4 there was nothing left in the position, because even if they do take, we are going to win the black bishop on that diagonal no matter what. e.g. takes, and just take back rook e4, bishop g5, and we are winning. The rook can't go back because it's still mate. It's just a beauty. Again, Petrosyan just played an absolutely flawless, beautiful attacking game. And all this, again, was a direct result of this beautiful breakthrough on d5. So, I don't really want to even break it down for you now. What was the main message of with these 4 games? I think that it's fairly obvious. What I suggest you to do is to have a look at all of them, figure out how the motifs work, because even though I showed you 4 remarkably similar games, they all had their unique features that made them stand out. And make sure that you all do understand how these motifs work, and make sure that you understand when and how to look out for d5, basically all the time, because it carries a tremendous power more often than not. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I think that I covered reasonably well one main aspect of the isolated queen pawn, and I really do hope that this was a valuable lesson to all of you. Thank you very much for tuning in. Make sure that you follow me not only on YouTube but on the stream as well. I'm doing it now very regularly, and I would love to see you there too. Thanks for watching. Bye.